How about that Fantastic Four trailer, you guys? Also, Marvel stars have a lot to say, and the Super Bowl brings the marketing heat. All that and more coming up right after this. Welcome to Multiverse News, your source for information about all your favorite fictional universes. My name is Matthew Carroll, and with me today on the panel, we have J. Scotty St. Clair. What is happening?
Yo, happy Fantastic Four Day.
Yeah.
And I did happen to notice that Fantastic Four and Multiverse News have the same number of syllables, so Multiverse News.
Multiverse News. Right, I love it. And Haley Hobbs, what's happening?
Oh, I had this great pun just come to mind as you said J. Scotty St. Clair. I can St. Clearly now. The Fantastic Four trailer is here. I don't know. It didn't land.
Hey,
It sounded so good in my head.
We'll workshop it. We'll put it in the lab.
We'll be back in 6 months with a really solid pun.
Maybe.
We'll take it down to the testing floor.
I think you can just shoot into the space, actually, and never have it return.
That's true.
To get hit by the cosmic waves and come back as something more fantastic.
Yeah. And Jay Sisson, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right. Fantastic Four trailer. We got Fantastic Four hosts, and we're ready to talk about it.
Ooh,
That
was
is
The gang
so
back
true.
together.
So true. That
Way to
was
show
good.
me up, Jay.
Yeah, he
Hey,
really nailed
you put me last, and that's what happens. I mean,
He's been building on all of our things.
Oh, is that how you're supposed to do it?
All right, well, we have a 5-star review from JJ Biggie Bags. Great name. Names are one of my favorite parts of these 5-star reviews, honestly. And JJ Biggie Bags says, first of all, I absolutely love this podcast. Second, I have just realized how much power I have. For instance, if this review is read out loud on the show, I can make Matt say whatever I want. Hullabaloo. Tostido. Bodacious. Ultimate power. Anyways, you guys rock.
Aw,
Thank you, JJ Biggie Bags.
that's a 5-star review right there.
Yeah, that is a 5-star
well
review.
said.
And it's like a whole new category. We had the stories start like a couple weeks ago, and now people that just want to puppet me. I will be puppeted for 5-star reviews. Just I will do it.
Be like one of those NPC TikTok influencers.
You're
Man,
I don't know
saying
why I know
words I
that.
don't
Hey,
understand.
if it brings in the listeners,
that's
we do what
right.
we got to do.
That's right. We do. Oh, man. Yeah, my niece watched enough TikTok and was just around that time when the NPC thing. So she would do little like, me, or like do the little like motions that the NPCs would do. And I was like,
Oh, no.
please stop. Please stop. Oh, okay, let's get into our first story, and you got to know what it is. Marvel finally gave us our official first trailer. Look at the Fantastic Four first steps with the release of the teaser trailer during a special launch event Tuesday morning, for which the First Family's cast itself was on hand to present. And what a trailer it was! Marvel led the drop with a space race-esque countdown in theme with the film's 1960s aesthetic. We met all of our 4 main cast members and even saw a glimpse of the biggest bad of all, Galactus. Let's not tarry. Who wants to go first?
I do, the Sue Storm of this Fantastic Four panel right here. I thought this trailer was great. I think it just did exactly what it needed to do for a teaser trailer. We saw all of our main people, we saw the big villain, but we didn't get a lot of other information, and that is perfectly fine. This is going to be a really anticipated film. We didn't need to get, too much into the weeds right away. They're just showing us this is what we're doing, this is what it looks like. Hope it's enough to get you hooked, kind of a thing. I thought the marketing ploy of the countdown was really cool, but I think they missed building up the hype to that in the marketing sense, because it was like, oh, this is happening, but we didn't really know it was going to be something that happened. I think they could have just done a little more to make us, a little more countdown type posts. That's just me thinking from a marketing standpoint, because I thought it was a great idea to do it that way.
Can I ask while you're talking about that? Does anybody know did they plan to release it? Because I had heard it was going to drop with the Super Bowl, and then I heard it was leaked, and then I heard they were doing a countdown. So I wondered if the leak forced their hand to drop it early. But has anybody traced that story?
I didn't hear anything about a leak. Yeah, I think they did announce yesterday, when we're recording this here, that it would, like, they put out the first poster and all that stuff, like that Marvel typically does, where like 24 hours before they'll throw the posters out and then tease the teaser, and then they'll drop the teaser. So it seemed like with the event, it was probably a little bit more pre-planned. But yeah, I mean, how excited can you be at 7 a.m. or whatever?
Right. And I think that's part of it. And that's why I think like they could have built that up a little more, and then people would have been like, oh yeah, I'm locked in. But when I woke up and I was expecting the trailer to have dropped, but it was this countdown, I was like, oh, okay. It was kind of, but anyway, the trailer itself, awesome. Had a great time watching it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the vibes are immaculate. I would say 10 out of 10 for vibes in this particular Marvel trailer. And yeah, it didn't go so hard with information, which I think is a good thing because we still have another trailer to come. This was a teaser, right? We're going to get the full trailer eventually, a little bit down the road. And when that happens, we'll probably see like the Galactus face, the Reed Richards powers, the Silver Surfer, maybe get a little bit more of where are we, when are we, what's kind of going on with the story beat. And this trailer didn't really need to do that. It didn't need to take those giant leaps forward yet. It was an impactful trailer. It trended all day. People were talking about it all day. The top trending topics on Twitter that weren't political, at least, were things like Fantastic Four, Pedro Pascal, The Thing, just all Fantastic Four related. So the conversation's there, and I know just within my own bubble, it's my own circle, but I've seen a lot of people talking about it that they watched Marvel and they're sort of hit and miss with Marvel, but they haven't really kept up with all of the things that have happened over the last 5 or 6 years. They were posting about it, saying like, this looks really cool. This looks really different. Like I saw people being like, Marvel's kind of back. Like this looks like something I'm really interested in. So I think just the detached nature of it, and the trailer feels detached from the wider MCU. I mean, we sort of know that it is, but the trailer feels detached. It feels like a different time. There's no Avengers Tower. We know Marvel is built on the idea of connectivity. That's why we love it. That's the whole brand has built on that. But I think this movie is doing itself a lot of favors by having that detachment a little bit. It's not really weighed down as much by the connectivity. Does this matter for the next big thing? Do I have to have seen X, Y, and Z to be able to have this make sense? Like, it seems like people see it, they see the plot, they're not really seeing a bunch of characters they don't know, and they're like, oh, cool, this seems like a fun thing. So I think, we've come a long way since the Galactus as a cloud days, and I think like as we look forward to this next MCU phase and we're looking at this being a staple group of characters, it does seem like we're at the point of something really exciting in the MCU, and it feels like the freshness of this. I mean, this thing was the Matt Shackman energy in this was coming off hard. I mean, this felt like WandaVision in places. He's this creative mind behind WandaVision, and that it was there. It felt fun. It felt kind of like a little like schlocky and gimmicky and Jetsons, but like that's what makes it cool. And like that's what kind of draws you in a little bit. It's we've been talking about Severance a lot, and Severance is good because it just is weird and it kind of like leans into weird stuff, and it's not afraid to just be like, this is not normal, but we're just going to lean into it. And I really felt that sort of thing with this, like just the walking around the house, the accents, the kind of like, the robot that looks futuristic, the Thing kind of looking not like hyper realistic, like we've tried that in the past, but trying to make him look comics accurate. Like things like that is working for this. And so I think just overall, it seems like the trailer was a big success. And man, July is going to be crazy. We got this, we got Superman. Yeah. We'll talk about Jurassic World Rebirth here in a little bit, but that's coming out in July too. Like we got a stacked slate coming up this summer. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I put it out on the MCU cast earlier today. We did a full episode on this trailer, and I compared this to the Superman trailer because I think the vibe is very similar. I don't know, there's something very like this, the hopeful nature of the trailer, the color palette of the trailer feels a lot like the Superman trailer. And I wonder if we're going to be, depending on the success of those two properties, if we do see like a boost back into Marvel and DC from those two movies, I wonder if it will set a new course and a new vibe this immaculate vibe that you mentioned, Jay. I wonder if it will set that course for comic book movies in general. Like even though they've gone way closer to comics accurate and brighter colors, still Infinity War and Endgame are pretty like gray. Like a lot of the movie is gray, like when you get to certain places, and like from that whole Russo brothers vibe is kind of that sort of, it has a muted tones to it. And this doesn't feel that way. This feels a lot brighter and very deliberately so. And same thing with the Superman movie. So that July could be a big pivot point for all of that stuff. And as for the trailer itself, I loved it. The only thing I wish, and I'll do my one negative, is I wish we'd gotten something we didn't know. I do wish there'd been something they had been reserving for this moment, because I think it would have really lit us on fire. I keep thinking about all day, thinking about this trailer and how good it was and how it's really tight and wonderful and like the vibes are immaculate. But like I keep thinking about the pumpkin bombs in the No Way Home trailer. You know what I mean? Like that moment where you're just like, oh, they're doing that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't feel that. I feel like I knew everything in this trailer already. Which is partially my own fault for being so plugged in. I know there's a lot of people out there who won't be that way, but I think when they put these trailers out and they want the hype to build, they need to do it in a way that like brings the new people in and gives us, obsessives something new to obsess over. And I still love the vibes. I don't feel like I have anything new to obsess over.
I think that this was like a confidence vote though, because this is a huge property. The Fantastic Four is so well known, despite what that guy said about one of our clips where I was talking about the Fantastic Four, and he's like, nobody knows who they are. And I was like, okay, 15 million views of the trailer would tell you otherwise. But anyway, like, I think this is hey, this is what we're doing, and it's going to work. And then I think the next trailer is going to be really cool and do something exciting and something we didn't know about.
Yeah, something I think is cool, too, is like, you can tell from the trailer they're not going to do the super origin story thing. Like they're not going to be like half the movie isn't going to be them shooting into space and getting powers, which like we just don't need it. We did the same thing with Spider-Man, right? We just dove right in and you were like, you guys know Spider-Man? You know how he got the powers. All he had to do was just be like, I got bit by a bug, and we can move on. Like we don't have to do the whole thing. And it just seems like they're going to do that here. It seems like maybe the movie's going to start with them maybe taking on some kind of like smaller villain, and there'll be flashbacks to them going into space, like sort of like jumping between time, kind of explaining it. Right. It almost felt like the beginning of the trailer was they were being interviewed for like a magazine or something. Exactly. They were giving the tour. I think that's it. And I think like when that happens, we'll probably get these flashbacks to sort of explain, here's what happened, here's why we're famous, here's why everybody knows who we are. And then we're just going to move forward. And I love that. I think like that's the move with superhero movies now. Like it's just, we don't need the origin stuff really anymore, unless it's a super unknown character or unless it's a Disney Plus thing. I just really don't think we need those in the movies anymore. We kind of know who these people are.
Yeah. On that note, kind of referring to how we actively saw, the Fantastic Four undergoing some media relations. It looks like they were actively filming something when they had that gentleman in their household. In my mind's eye, I'm kind of picturing the opening of this movie like fully steeped, like you'll kind of be sitting in a classroom watching this produced like documentary. And it's like, welcome to the Fantastic Four, the heroes of this world. And then kind of slowly but surely it will transition to the real world. And you'll probably go to like something behind the scenes because, again, with Matt Shakman, having worked on WandaVision, he clearly has an interest in that kind of like, the world between worlds in terms of like giving you a little bit of a look into the actual filmmaking there. But as far as a big first step for the marketing goes, this really worked for me. It did exactly what it needed to do. It teased. So everything that we've been talking about here, maybe it didn't give us anything to like, completely blow our minds or speculate about or anything like that, but it showed us a lot. Everything that's been brought up, I think the aesthetic is wonderful. The color palette is such stark contrast to many of the films that we've seen, especially out of Marvel. I think this was just a great first look, and it was kind of exactly what I was waiting for. Like, I've been looking forward to this movie, but I've always kind of had a little bit of hesitation or reservation. And, that is probably around Pedro's casting, but I really liked I know. But I really did enjoy everything that I saw, and I liked how they left some stuff on the table. We did not see Silver Surfer at all. A lot of the characters like Natasha Lyonne, Paul Walter Hauser, we have no idea who they're still playing too. We did see John Malkovich, but we still don't know who he's playing. So in my opinion, that is an effective trailer. And we do know, or we've heard that Sue Storm is supposed to be kind of the central figure here, and just like the dialogue between Reed and Sue, getting to be that kind of like fulcrum for the family. Like, hey, I'm here. Johnny's being Johnny. Ben has always been a rock. Like, we're here. We're going to do this. And it just looks really encouraging. And I did see some criticisms online. The worst criticism I've seen is that people are saying it's boring. You're entitled to your opinion, but if that's the best you can come up with, I kind of think that's a boring take. So I am kind of reminded of when we talked about the Superman trailer. Like, can we just enjoy these things again? Do we have to pick everything apart with a fine tooth comb? Just enjoy it and wait for more to be revealed.
No, just guys, it's what we do here.
Hey, nobody hates stuff like fans, you know.
That's right.
Right.
All right. Well, we're very excited for that, but we got a lot of other stories to cover here. We got last week we reported on Doctor Strange actor Benedict Cumberbatch's statements about officially not being a part of Avengers Doomsday. The very next day, the actor recanted his claims in an interview with Business Insider, saying, "I got that wrong. I am in the next one," adding, "Don't ever believe anything I say." Elsewhere, Chris Evans had a record of his own to set. Chris Evans had a record of his own to set straight, denying the many reports that he has been. Chris Evans had a record of his own to set straight, denying the many reports that he has been cast to return in Doomsday, while speaking with Esquire, claiming, "That's not true, though. This always happens. I mean, it happens every couple years, ever since Endgame. I've just stopped responding to it. Yeah, no, happily retired." Finally, in an interview on Andy Cohen Live, the legendary Patti LuPone may have shed some light on the future of Disney Plus series WandaVision and Agatha all along, saying showrunner Jac Schaeffer told her she doesn't do second seasons. Lots of Marvel actors saying and unsaying lots of things. Has Feige loosened up on the once ironclad security measures in place, or are Marvel and its stars embracing the lies?
Yeah, so I mean, we have three really distinct things here, and I'm not going to spend very much time on the first two because I think I can get right to the point. Benedict Cumberbatch, come on, man! Like, well, come on, man! And then Chris Evans,
just come on.
Yeah, Chris Evans is a liar. I mean, Chris Evans is a liar. Like, this is Andrew Garfield 2.0. Do not believe it. Every major trade reported that he was involved in this movie. Now, he might not be coming back as Captain America. All right, like, I'll give him that.
Right.
But he is in that movie. Okay, he will be in that movie. He is a liar. Capital L, or all caps, liar. And then the main thing I think, like, that I want to really touch on here is this Patti LuPone interview. Like, Jac Schaeffer, you know, she pretty much told her, "I don't do second seasons," and then she told her too, and this was an interesting bit, that Marvel wanted her to do WandaVision season 2, and she did not take them up on it. Like, she told them that she did not want to do a WandaVision season 2, and that to me was really fascinating, right? Like, this idea of not wanting to continue that story. Now, she did get the spin-off of WandaVision, of Agatha all along, but then she left this, writing-wise, in a place that sort of demands that the story continue, but then has insinuated that she will not continue it, that it might be someone else or whatever, or maybe just not continue at all, which would not be good. So it's this interesting thing, right? Like, when you're talking about Wanda, and I think we all expected there to be a WandaVision season 2. I mean, at least I did. Like, when it was their first show, it was the first Marvel show. It had the big budget. It was kind of like the flagship that they built this, like, MCU streaming on. And so then and it's their most popular one too, the most viewed one. So for there not to be a WandaVision season 2, but then to know that it was in the works, or at least was something that Feige was interested in doing, that's really interesting. And it does make me wonder a little bit about Jac Schaeffer and like what, the idea of like not wanting to do second seasons. I get that. I respect that. Like wanting to do a one-off, having a story that you want to tell. But still, it is odd, to kind of think about this like character of Wanda and kind of wondering, would Multiverse of Madness had been maybe a little different if there had been a WandaVision season 2? Would Wanda's character maybe have gone in a different direction? Like we know Scott Derrickson was attached and then he wasn't, and then you got the Sam Raimi version, and it kind of opens up a lot of questions about, I think, those characters. But I think it definitely raises questions too about a potential second season of Agatha, or just a continuing of that story that we saw, which was obviously left in sort of a cliffhanger. So overall, I mean, a lot of stuff going on there. Again, Cumberbatch, come on, man. Chris Evans, you're a liar. Don't tell Patti LuPone secrets, I guess, is the takeaway if you're Jac Schaeffer.
It's interesting. You think I never got the impression there was going to be a WandaVision season 2. I knew they would continue the story somehow, but it was kind of new. It was a new era. Disney Plus shows were a new era, and they were all kind of like, I always thought they were being touted as like mini series, until Loki. We got Loki season 2, but really that's the only thing we've gotten a sequel to, right? Nothing else, I don't believe. What if
only thing that's gotten different. A second season? Correct? Yeah.
But the other franchises like Star Wars, has done. I mean, Ahsoka and Andor and Mandalorian, like they've gone multiple seasons. Marvel, they haven't really touched it too much.
And that's all live action. It is worth mentioning animated shows like What If had 3 seasons, and Star Wars Visions has had a couple of seasons. So yeah.
I mean, Jac Schaeffer kind of came out later last year and said, my vision was Wanda, Agatha, Vision. So that trilogy of series is supposed to feed into one another, and Paul Bettany, we reported him saying on the red carpet that he knew he needed to watch Agatha all along to prep for the Vision series. So I think I'm going to assume that was always her plan, and probably, I mean, when you're the president CEO of something as big as Marvel, if something's successful, of course you're going to say, do you want to do this another time? But I kind of like applaud Jac Schaeffer for being like, no, this is the story I want to tell, and this is how we're going to tell it. And I also just love her, so I'm going to defend her.
Yeah, I'm on board with this, and it's the way, to me, especially WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier, and I'm trying to think, Miss Marvel. Those never felt like they were supposed to have sequels to me. Now, Agatha clearly is a sequel to WandaVision, but it's not WandaVision season 2. It's just continuing the story of one of those characters or some of those characters. And I think the same thing will be said of Vision Quest. I do think that'll work well as like a trilogy almost. When it comes out, but just I think Marvel has moved away from the entire idea of the numbering system in their movies or TV shows. They don't do many season 2s. They don't do Iron Man 1, 2, and 3 is the only series I believe that has a numbered system, because I think they like thinking like it's Thor, the Dark World. It's Captain America, the Winter Soldier. It's not Captain America 2, I think they know that like when you put a 2 on something, it sort of shrinks its audience a little bit because people who haven't seen the first one won't go. And so they just name things. I think years ago they made that decision. I think they're kind of continuing that in there. But I'm hoping that changes with Daredevil, because I want Daredevil to continue as long as it's good.
Well, they're making a second. They're going to start filming that. So soon. So
are they?
Yeah.
Didn't realize that.
Yeah. There's a second season for sure on the way of Daredevil.
Cool. Good.
Season 1 is Daredevil Born Again, and then season 2 is Daredevil something else. I'd be totally open to that. I know shows like Atlanta have incorporated stuff like that, so I'm down for it. I actually prefer like unique titles as opposed to like a numbered title. It just gives me a little bit more to grab onto and gives me some idea about what to expect. And to your point, it does open it up to a wider audience. I think that may not have the familiarity with the original film or TV series, what have you. But I think the WandaVision, Agatha all along Vision connection there has been discussed pretty thoroughly. I do think that we're going to see the culmination of that trilogy in the Vision series. So I have to imagine that Billy is going to play a major factor in that series. But I'm going to come back to our 2 big stars here that are, saying things and unsaying things. And I'm conflicted because these are 2 of my favorite characters. I love Captain America and I love Doctor Strange. But for whatever reason, I'm willing to give Benedict Cumberbatch a little more flack. And it's funny because I think his statements are a little more egregious. It's just like you said, Jay, it's just like, come on, kind of get your shit together. Like, what are you doing?
It's literally him saying
It's
it, then
almost like
him
he was
unsaying
fishing
it.
for it.
Yeah.
If I say this, what are you going to do, Kevin?
Well, maybe that is what he was doing. Maybe he wants some extra attention or wants to get cast in something totally on the table. But I just kind of took it as just like what I said previously. I think he's a popular actor, has a lot of stuff being thrown at him. He probably just needs someone on his team, keeping tabs on him a little better and guiding him. But the Chris Evans thing it annoys me more because I just feel like it's just like, what are you doing? Because you just popped up in Deadpool and Wolverine, and it almost feels kind of like disingenuous to me because you waited until now to deny these claims. These have been out there for months and months and months, and you haven't said anything. And now and I get where he's coming from. He's trying to do his buddy Anthony Mackie a favor, and there was some backlash when people, thought that Captain America was going to be returning, Steve Rogers was going to be returning, and people were like, "Hey, what about Sam Wilson's version? Are we, stealing his limelight too soon?" And I think that is a fair argument, but it's all so surface level and obvious, and just it does feel disingenuous to me. Where Chris Evans, I feel like normally he's not that guy. Normally he's coy, he's good with the media, he's good at talking around things, but I never just really got that level of like, I never felt that manipulated by him as I do with this particular lie. But at the end of the day, I would rather be lied to as much as we're going back and forth. Will they, won't they, will. I like to be surprised when I sit down in the theater. So as perplexing it can be at times, in the long run, I'm down for it. Lie to me.
Yeah, absolutely. TJ Stafford in the chat, thank you. He reminded me that Guardians of the Galaxy was a numbered series. Volumes 1, 2, and 3.
I feel like when you add the volume on there, it does a little
but it's
extra.
like volume is like, it almost like invokes like the tape, like the music.
Yeah,
so I
exactly.
get, like,
Definitely
you know
does,
what I mean?
yeah.
So, yeah,
Awesome
it is
mix,
true. They are
volume 1,
numbered,
volume 2.
but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you completely that it does sort of like obscure it a little bit, but it is numbered. So good call. Okay, moving up onto our next one. Sunday's Super Bowl 59, where the Kansas City Chiefs will defend their title against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's the most sports news you'll ever get on this podcast. Is bound to bring a bevy of trailers for movies and series in tow. But let's talk about what exactly is confirmed, expected, predicted, and everything in between. Only 3 motion picture studios have been willing to invest the substantial sum of $7.5 to $8 million for a single 30-second commercial spot: Disney, Paramount, and Universal. Disney plans to showcase trailers for several anticipated films, including the live-action remake of Snow White, the animated feature Lilo and Stitch, the original animated film Elio, the upcoming Marvel entries such as Thunderbolts. Paramount is expected to promote its diverse lineup, which includes the Jack Quaid-led action film Novocaine, a musical Smurfs movie featuring Rihanna, and the latest installment in the Mission Impossible franchise, Final Reckoning. Yeah. Universal may reveal trailers for How to Train Your Dragon, the horror sequel Megan 2.0, and Jurassic World Rebirth. Notably absent is Warner Brothers and DC Studios, seemingly playing defense. Do we think these studios' respective plays are enough to win the day?
Only time will tell, but I do want to start with the omission here, DC. And that's just a head scratcher because they sat Comic-Con out, and now they're effectively missing out on another one of the biggest marketing opportunities in terms of the number of eyeballs you can get on something. It's just a really interesting strategy, and I understand if it's a financial decision. They dropped a TV spot which was a lot like the first trailer that came out with some additional footage not all that long ago, and from what I understand, it is much more cost effective to do something like that than to pay to have your spot with these exorbitant price figures we're talking about here. So in the long run, maybe it is a good decision, but just on the surface, it is definitely one that has me scratching my head.
Don't forget, they're doing the Puppy Bowl. That's where he's going to air that spot.
Yep.
Okay, I did need that reminder. Thank you.
Don't diss the Puppy Bowl like that.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
James Gunn's going to be there with his rescue dog and everything. So I think that's going to be really interesting counter programming for that.
Forget everything I said then.
But the Puppy Bowl, nobody's watching that. No offense, but nobody's watching that compared to the Zombie.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Just,
I watched the Puppy Bowl.
Not very many people are watching it compared to the Super Bowl. There you go.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Don't make me pull up viewership numbers for the Puppy Bowl. I'll do it.
We'll
right
get the
here.
Nielsen ratings on that one.
Listen, puppies are better than football. That's all I'm saying. Puppies are better than football. And if you deny it, you hate puppies.
Okay, the gauntlet has been thrown. All right. I did want to come back to another studio that's not mentioned here, and it's Amazon. And while we're largely talking about film trailers here, Amazon does come to mind for their stable of TV shows. The Boys has a new season in the works, the final season there. Gen V has another season in the works. Invincible season 3 we know is on the way. So I would be really surprised if they don't have some kind of presence. And maybe they're just not being cited here because they have other types of commercials. Maybe they're advertising their online service or something else, and they'll squeeze in some of these pieces of content I'm talking about by way of like a sizzle reel. So on the subject of sizzle reels, I do expect to get at least one or two sizzle reels from one of these studios. Like sizzle reels seem to be all the rage right now, especially for streaming content. So again, we're talking largely about films, but have to imagine we'll see something for Andor season 2, Last of Us definitely. If not, I feel like it would just be a missed opportunity. So to bring it back to the films though, and Marvel specifically, from my understanding, it sounds like Marvel has two spots for the duration of the game here. I don't need any more marketing for Brave New World at this juncture, but I know I'm an outlier. I think it would behoove them to take this final opportunity and put something for Brave New World out there just to remind people, hey, this thing is coming out like less than 2 weeks. If you haven't thought about it, now's the time to get your tickets. But I definitely expect to see something from Thunderbolts. And again, it would be nice to see something, but I really don't want them to show too much. We're at this point where, like, if you want to show me one more brief trailer, I'm good, but I'm going to avoid all the TV spots and everything like that. So the one that I think I'm actually the most excited for and I think could benefit the most potentially from the showcase is Mission Impossible. They've already had one great trailer, but I just can't wait to learn more about that movie. And then Jurassic World Rebirth. That's another one I'm really amped for because we haven't seen anything from that. This is going to be potentially, and probably, if not, I would be flabbergasted, but this will probably be the first real good look we get at Jurassic World Rebirth.
So I actually have to butt in and say that the trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth will actually drop tomorrow.
Okay.
All the trades have reported that. So if you're listening to this in an audio format and you're not live with us, that is today. You can probably find that right now if you're listening to this podcast. So yeah, it's same with Fantastic Four. Like I think there was sort of the rumbling of like, well, Fantastic Four is going to be shown during the Super Bowl, but instead Marvel, if they put it out there, they did their event. And then they'll probably, do a sizzle reel thing with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, and they'll kind of mash it all up, and you'll see that look. So sort of the same thing with Jurassic World, right? We'll get the trailer drop tomorrow. It'll be like big discussion, all that type of stuff. And then you'll probably see that trailer aired again during the Super Bowl for people it missed online.
Mm-hmm. I really hope that Brave New World is focused on, because while I don't need any more of the movie, I do think the movie needs more exposure. Not everybody I've talked to doesn't know that it's coming, and it just in my life, and I'm like, come on, the new Captain America movie, Sam Wilson's back, let's do this. And it's literally 4 days before the movie comes out. This is going to be happening. So I think that just like that, this Thursday, and all the Captain America, accoutrement showing in the Falcon wings, just yeah.
Plus the Super Bowl's in New Orleans this year. It's a perfect way to showcase Sam's character.
Yes. So I wonder if the movie has any of that New Orleans connection in the movie, because that would be a good way to do it. If there is, but showing Red Hulk, people that don't know it's coming. I think that's a really big moment for that movie.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. It's always interesting to see who does and doesn't do something during the Super Bowl. With my background in schooling, like it's always been a subject of conversation because the cost that's gone up, 800% from 15 years ago, and who's willing to still make that sacrifice, who's being innovative and actually doing things that work, and then who's doing things that nobody cares about. And it's always interesting, like the ads or something people watch the Super Bowl for. If you don't care about football or you don't care about who's playing, you might still watch for the ads if you're at somebody's house for a party. And so it's funny to see which ones land and which ones don't, and then which film houses take that big swing. I think a sizzle reel for a lot of those big ones does make the most sense, like you said, Scotty and Jay. And you got to make it matter at this point. It's like anything else, like going to the movies. You have to make an event. And that's why I bring up Sam being from Louisiana. Like, they could do a really clever marketing thing with Brave New World if they were planning on it. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited for more Mission Impossible, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to nail the timing a little bit. Like, Super Bowl trailers aren't really what they used to be. Like, they don't really drop the whole trailer during the game anymore because it just doesn't make a whole lot of financial sense to do that. So they'll drop the little, like, 30-second, here's a couple clips, see the full trailer online thing. And there was studios that had success with that last year. Like, this last year at this time, that was our first look at Deadpool and Wolverine, was during the Super Bowl. And same thing, it's like, go check it out online, and it blew up, got the most views of any trailer in history in a 24-hour period. And Wicked, that was our first look at Wicked last year, was during the Super Bowl. And I remember we did a little reaction cast on that night of, and we were kind of walking away going like, well, Deadpool and Wolverine's cool, but this Wicked movie looks kind of awesome. And we saw what that movie did, like it gradually, that's where it started. And that marketing just gradually ramped up throughout the summer and into that movie, and obviously has done what it did, right? So yeah, I mean, you can, if you really nail it and you really kind of show the right thing and it's the right timing, like, it can pay off. It's just, you're probably not going to see a full trailer. You're probably going to see which makes sense. People are watching the game and they're in and out of the room and they're at parties, and you want them to see the full trailer, like,
and they're
on
watching
their phone.
The Puppy Bowl.
They're like watching Puppy Bowl highlights. Yeah,
most
totally.
Let me just say, little PSA. Just to be kind to the geek at your Super Bowl party. I've been at a Super Bowl party before, and they're passing the wings around, and we're all enjoying ourselves. And then the commercial comes, the part I'm there for, and that's when everybody starts talking and gets loud. Like, that's the part I'm there for. Don't talk over the commercials. Like, just respect that some people are there for the commercials.
Yeah. Well, while we're talking about marketing and the various approaches and how you can really prep for an impact and really make a splash, like Haley, like you were talking about, leveraging the fact that Sam is from Louisiana, New Orleans specifically. Oh, yeah. It did bring to mind the Fantastic Four trailer again. It's something I wanted to bring up, and this is kind of the perfect place there too. Jay, you're kind of talking about how we had those 30-second trailers that will direct you to go see something online. If you want to do that, cool. I'm down for that. If you want to save the full trailer for online, what I want to stop seeing is the 15-second little clips that are like the trailer before the trailer. That are like, the trailer starts in 15 seconds. Like, I'm so done with that. So what Fantastic Four did that I thought was really cool, if you're going to do a teaser for a teaser, that's the way to do it. They did that whole thing that looked like it was a scene right out of like Willy Wonka, like the 70s Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where the kids are running to the TV screens. If you're going to do a teaser for a teaser, do something like that.
Yeah.
Just to throw you a bone, Scotty, Anthony Mackie is also from Louisiana.
Okay, thank you.
Nice.
You were right.
Okay, wires were getting crossed.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to take a break. We've got so much coming up after the break. We got, in the lightning round, we got Netflix's 2025 movie slate, a Buffy the Vampire Slayer revival with Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yeah, let's talk about it. Jake Gyllenhaal teams with M. Night Shyamalan and Nicholas Sparks. That seems weird. And House of the Dragon and Scream add talent. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Multiverse News. We really are so happy you're all here hanging out with us. We would love to tell you about our Patreon. Patreon.com/multiverse newscast, where you can give us $4 a month and you get ad-free access. You get access to special polls and access to special hangouts and like conversations with us there. And it's a great place. So go to Patreon.com/multiverse newscast and join up today. And it's a great way to just tip us for the work we do here every week, put on a show for you. Thank you. We did a Spotify poll this week, like we do every week, and we said, "What's your excitement level for Brave New World?" Not excited at all. Got 0%. That's my people out there. Thank you.
They understood.
People.
They understood the assignment.
A Little Glimmer of Hope got 11%, 11.4%. Average Marvel excitement got 45.7%, and Red Hulk levels of pumped got 42.9%. So that is a lot of people in the upper levels of that kind of excitement for this movie.
Yay.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really glad to hear that. With all the rumors and some probably misinformation and bad words being said about it before anybody's seen it, like, I am just excited that a lot of people in our community at least are really excited for it. Ready to go.
I do feel like the most popular option, average Marvel excitement, that's pretty nebulous. Like, one person's average Marvel excitement might pale in comparison to another. So I imagine most people listening to this show, they probably see most of these movies at least opening weekend. But are you a Thursday night person versus like, maybe I'll wait till Sunday, or, by Sunday you've seen it 2 or 3 times at that point,
Some of us have schedules that can't let us go on Thursday night.
I'm not seeing a movie Thursday night probably ever again in my life.
Some of us aren't real fans. This is what you guys are saying, and that's fine. That's fine if you don't have commitment to your fandom.
Life comes at you fast. Like, I'm not starting a movie at 9 p.m. All right, I'm not doing it.
Oh, I'm not starting a movie at 9 p.m. either.
It's bad enough I'm seeing The Brutalist tomorrow at 6:20, and I'm like, damn, I'm going to get home at like 10:30. Like,
caffeinate before, and then don't caffeinate during the intermission. You should be okay. Yeah.
If only caffeine mattered at this point.
Oh, okay.
I am not Dakota Johnson.
I got it.
All of her receptors are burned out.
Totally.
Had a couple comments about this. In Kindle 2311 says, we needed a 5th choice in the poll. I have above average level of excitements because I've been wanting an Earth-based political thriller, but not quite Red Hulk levels of excitement because of the issues discussed at length on the podcast, and I hope don't hurt the final product on screen. And then Ant said Brave New World is my most anticipated. So yeah.
Yay.
Love it.
Less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Cannot believe it. Very excited. All right, let's dive into our lightning round, everybody. This is where I'm going to read a story. It's going to be a little bit shorter, and one of us will respond to it by claiming it, by shouting out our name like a buzzer. And then once per lightning round, we are able to respond to a story. So here we go. Actor-director Benny Safdie will join Christopher Nolan's upcoming film The Odyssey following his role as Edward Teller in Oppenheimer. Recent cast additions include Elliot Page, Himesh Patel, Bill Irwin, and Samantha Morton.
Haley,
Jay?
go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, there's just not a whole lot to say. I mean, it's, these are, Elliot Page is probably the biggest name of that bunch, I would guess, just kind of seen him off the top of the head. But yeah, I mean, we're just seeing the cast grow and grow with this movie. I'm sure filming is going to start relatively soon if it's going to make its release date. So I would say we're probably nearing the end of the casting of Nolan's Odyssey, which maybe you listen to the show and you're like, thank God, because you're tired of hearing about it every single week.
That's me.
Scotty with a rebuttal. I didn't actually know this until I went back and read all the names, but when you said Elliot Page is the most recognizable name, fully agree, but Himesh Patel and Bill Irwin, side by side, both of them were on Legion on FX, which is an interesting correlation there.
Yeah, interesting.
I told you, he's just gathering up all these Marvel people and superhero people, and he's like, be in my serious movie. Mm-hmm. It'll be 5 hours long. It'll be great.
Right.
Netflix is developing a new Little House on the Prairie series 40 years after NBC's original adaptation, this time with Rebecca Sonnenschein of The Vampire Diaries and The Boys as showrunner.
Haley? Those two things don't really go together, but... Right? However, Life on the Prairie was real hard, so I don't know, maybe they're going to do a really macabre version of Little House on the Prairie.
Have you watched that Netflix series, American Primeval? Yeah, it's going to be like that. It's going to be like hardcore.
I doubt it'll be that. I'm sure this will
it
be one
won't.
of those things that discovers like a new generation of kids and stuff who discovered the Little House books and those characters. So that's cool, I guess.
Yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal will star in M. Night Shyamalan's upcoming supernatural romantic thriller, which Shyamalan and Nicholas Sparks are collaboratively developing as both a film, screenplay, and a novel.
Scotty, one of these things is not like the other. And now I say that, but when you actually break it down, it's interesting. So I look at like Gyllenhaal and Nicholas Sparks, I can see it. Gyllenhaal and M. Night Shyamalan, I can see it. But then when you do M. Night Shyamalan and Nicholas Sparks together, that's where it just all breaks down for me. Like, what is going on here? But
It's like a mad,
more
it's like a
power
mad
to 'em.
gab.
Yeah. If they want
Mad
to,
lib.
flex their creative muscles, if M. Night Shyamalan wants to do something a little more grounded, and if Nicholas Sparks wants to do something a little more supernatural, I say give him the space to do it.
Absolutely. Sony Pictures has set a release date of August 29th for Darren Aronofsky's Austin Butler-led feature Caught Stealing. The film that previously held that date, the sixth film in the Insidious franchise, has moved back a year to August 21st, 2026.
Scotty? Yeah, I think August makes sense for a Darren Aronofsky film. He's a filmmaker that he's got a good following, but he's not a filmmaker that, everybody... It's we've talked about the 4 quarters. He's not a director for a 4-quarter audience here. So I'm excited to see what it's actually going to look like. Austin Butler is definitely a rising talent right now. Aronofsky, his track record is a little more hit or miss, but he is definitely a filmmaker that's not afraid to absolutely swing for the fences. So I think it's a good next move for Austin Butler as he continues to matriculate through his career.
Yeah. Robert Eggers has closed a deal to write and direct a new Labyrinth film for TriStar Pictures. Plot details are under wraps, but sources tell Deadline that the film is a sequel to, rather than a remake of, Jim Henson's 1986 classic.
Haley, when we reported that they were doing Labyrinth and we thought it was a remake, because that's what they were saying, I was like, don't do that. So
Right.
if this is true that it's like a sequel or a continuation, that's so much better, because that's just one of those films that, like, and I don't even love Labyrinth, but it just has that mythos around it with David Bowie and everything, and you're just like, just don't mess with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Netflix has unveiled its 2025 movie slate. The list of films is very long and detailed, but some release dates of note include Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, releasing in November. The Old Guard 2 will begin streaming on July 2nd. The Ben Affleck and Matt Damon-led film R.I.P. will release in the fall, and Rian Johnson's Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, which debuts in the fall as well.
Jay, if you're interested in this, I mean, I would go look up the wider release calendar, because there is a lot there that we just didn't really have time to go over all of it. If you're kind of interested in how these films are laid out throughout the year, we're going to talk about Netflix's series in the next story here, and I think that is maybe a lot more people are familiar with that. But Netflix has been leaning hard into that original film category, so. The Frankenstein one is probably the headliner there, but yeah, take a look at the whole release schedule and kind of see how it all shakes out. There's a lot going on with Netflix next year.
Absolutely. Speaking of Netflix, Netflix's 2025 TV lineup includes final seasons of Squid Game and Stranger Things, plus returns of several popular shows. However, anticipated series like Outer Banks, Bridgerton, and The Lincoln Lawyer are notably absent, with their seasons likely not arriving until 2026.
Haley, I think Netflix is going to have a big year this year between these movies and TV shows. Like Wednesday is coming out this year, and that was such a huge show for them, and Squid Game is the same way. So it's interesting, like maybe there's a little more quality going on there than there was a few years ago with Netflix. Hopefully it's successful.
Variety has learned exclusively that James Norton will join the House of the Dragon's upcoming 3rd season and will play Ormond Hightower.
Haley, aren't we getting this like in 2027 or something?
It's gonna be a while.
Yeah.
So just sit on that till then.
I'll do a rebuttal here. It didn't make it to the lightning round. I'm only thinking about it right now, but I saw a headline where George R.R. Martin was saying about the, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms. that stars the character Dunk. He said if you're looking for a series that's like focused on action, this one might not be the one for you. So it sounds like it's going to be a little bit more of a slice of life, which we may have reported on, but felt new to
Can
me.
confirm, having read the book.
Okay.
Cool. Matthew Lillard, who appeared in the 1996 Scream movie, is returning to the franchise for Scream 7. Mark Consuelos also joined the cast last week, although details on who he is playing are currently being kept under wraps. Matthew Lillard photobombed me a while back. It was cool.
Oh yeah.
We got to meet him at Dragon Con this year. It was really, really fun. But I'm actually really excited for this. I've been looking for an excuse to go watch all the other 6 Scream movies. I've seen like the first 3 and fell off. I think Jay Scotty, I think you've seen more if you want to rebut this or anything, but I just am excited for Stu's return or seemingly Stu's return. How maybe that TV didn't do so much damage. I don't know. But I love the first Scream. Love it so much. And I also just I have a real hanker when a series starts to get super long. Like around the 3 or 4, I lose interest. Around 7 to 9, I start getting interest again. I don't know what that is about me, but I start going like, the 9 movies can't be wrong. So yeah, they often can be, but I still feel like I just want to watch the canon of something like that, you know? So I'm pumped for this, and that Stu's return is awesome.
Did Fast and the Furious get this same level of consideration?
100%. Yeah. 100%. I did the same thing. I fell off around 3 or 4, came back and just marathoned them all.
You're like, Fast and the Furious 10, count me in.
That is exactly what I did. I'm not joking. That's
hilarious.
100%. Warner Brothers Discovery faces a lawsuit from Joseph Schuster's estate, claiming that the studio lost international Superman rights years ago. The legal action seeks to block the upcoming Superman film's release in several countries and demands a share of profits from previous Superman-related movies, including Justice League and Black Adam, alleging unauthorized use of the character's rights.
Jay, I mean, seems like something that should have been maybe worked out before we saw the return of Superman to the big screen, but clearly is something that maybe was laying dormant for a long time if we're talking about Justice League and we're talking about Black Adam and Man of Steel and all these other Superman-related films. So it is interesting because we are talking about the estate here, and we don't know how much of a case they have yet because the details of the case aren't out there as much as they will be later. So it's one of those things that you just kind of have to follow. You know, will it be successful in stopping the release of this movie internationally? Probably not. I mean, you know, it's a lot of times that's sort of, okay, that's on the table, that's the headline, but ultimately there usually is either some sort of, it works out in the legal system or it gets settled or something like that, and we avert that happening. So ultimately, I think if you could fast forward a year, this is one of those things that it's not going to necessarily affect the release of the movie, but it is something just to kind of keep an eye on. And once it hits the court, if it goes that far, or once we get more details of what's actually being, you know, what is actually being the conversed about here in the court of law, we'll maybe talk about it again. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Dan Stevens, who played Trapper in Legendary's Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, is in negotiations to reprise his role for the latest Monsterverse installment.
Scotty, I'm a big fan of Dan Stevens to begin with, but his character of Trapper was my favorite character from Godzilla Kong: The New Empire here. So if you're going to take any character from that movie and continue them on in this franchise, he's kind of the one I want to see. But what I think I appreciated about the role is that Dan Stevens is he knows what kind of movie he's in. So these movies are not about the human characters, but they don't have to be paper thin. Or if they're going to be paper thin, at least make them memorable, give them something about them. And I think he was really able to tap into that. So Godzilla and Kong will continue to be the stars, don't you fret. But if we can have a nice human character like Trapper continue to be a part of the proceedings, I'm down for it.
Tiny butt. The trajectory of Dan Stevens' career is so fascinating. From starting up, getting known in Downton Abbey, and now he's in horror movies and Godzilla.
Right.
It's so funny.
He always gives 100% though.
Always.
Black Panther and Walking Dead star Denai Guerrera has joined John Cena in Matchbox, Apple Original Films' live-action take on the classic Mattel car toy line. Matt, cool. Denai Guerrera is great. John Cena is great. Sounds great. Doesn't sound like we had much to say about that one, so let's move on. More than 2 decades after Buffy the Vampire Slayer ended its 7-season run, a follow-up series is nearing a pilot order from Hulu, with Sarah Michelle Gellar expected to star, reprising her signature role as Buffy Summers. Oscar winner Chloe Zhao, a self-professed lifelong Buffy fan, is set to direct the pilot. Matt, obviously. Before the show, I was like, can we move this to a main story? You guys know Buffy? And everybody's like, nope, we don't.
We're like,
There's nothing
Buffy,
to talk about.
Question mark?
What's a Buffy? I love Buffy, and I have too much to say about this to even pack into a lightning round, but I'm just very excited for them to bring it back. The fact that they've been talking about doing a Buffy series. There was one announced a few years ago, but it was supposed to be a reboot. And I was like, no, how dare? And I think enough other people like me were like that they were like, maybe we should do a continuation series. And I've always said they could even just come out with someone else, the Vampire Slayer, because it's a role that is passed down through different characters. They could just have, Samantha the Vampire Slayer or whatever, like just do a new Vampire Slayer, but have all those characters be able to return. But just bringing back Buffy and Sarah Michelle Gellar starring, like, great. And Chloe Zhao, like, that's some heavy hitting talent to be behind the camera. And I was worried with all the cancellation of Joss Whedon. I completely understand he has been canceled, probably for a very good reason. Lots of asshole things he's done. But I was concerned that with his cancellation would kind of go out the window all of his IP, where it's just like it would get tainted with the residue that Joss Whedon touched it. And it just excites me to see Buffy, which is a thing I really, really love, getting picked up. And it kind of reminds me, like, it's kind of crazy to think about, but like when I was a kid, I watched Star Trek, like the original series, and then The Next Generation was coming out. It's like that 20 or 30 years apart. And now this show that was on when I was a teenager and now I'm in my 40s is getting a sequel series. This is like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The Next Generation. And that is so cool to think about that I'll be able to watch this with like my niece and be like, but the original series was very good. You should really watch the original series. And she'll be like, these effects are terrible. What are you doing? This is so dated. And I'll be like, yes, but the story's there. Like it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm going to be so mad and I'm going to compare it and I'm going to hate it and I'm going to love it. It's going to be so fun.
When's the Buffy cast coming?
We are covering Buffy.
Panda. Yeah,
we are 100% covering Buffy. Now I just assume
always watching right now.
We will, follow Always Watching, because that is likely where it will end up, unless we really do get a wild hair and just do a full-on Buffy cast, the entire. Yeah, let's just start at the beginning. 7 seasons. I got all the time in the world.
How many episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer are there?
Like a lot.
It's 7 seasons.
Isn't there?
Every season is about 20 episodes, I believe, 22.
I like 100.
There are 144 episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
And 5 seasons of Angel, the spinoff series, that is very interconnected. They have characters going back and forth, plot lines going back and forth. I love the whole canon of that show. And it even has, they made season 8 as a comic book, and season 9 and season 10. So they continued the story in comic book form. I'm guessing they'll probably scrap all that and do whatever they want here. But maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe
Star Wars extended universe, that bitch.
Yeah, they very well. I could totally see them doing something very similar. So funny, Jay. You're making jokes. I'm like, no, that's totally a great idea because there's these great elements from the comic book.
See, this will be the Buffy cast. It'll be you talking about legit Buffy, and it'll be me that knows nothing about Buffy, just like reacting to it. That's the format. We found it.
Yep, we found it.
In our defense, like JJ, Scotty, and I were literal children when it started, so
Yes.
I remember catching it like at
12.
the end. I remember seeing those episodes.
I remember it being on TV, but yeah.
97. Like, I would have been 8 years old.
97. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
12 or whatever. So you know, I get it.
You were right in that sweet spot. We were
probably
I was
was.
busy watching Space Jam.
children. Yeah.
Just over and over.
I mostly
not
the most
untrue.
thing
Yeah.
I remember about Buffy the most is them like transforming into the vampires and the prosthetics and stuff on their face.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was too scared. I was like, yeah, it's too scary. Way too scary for 8-year-old me.
Yeah.
Yeah, all it was like they would just have a guy stand in the same place one time
Yeah.
with a prosthetic and one time without, and just have the cross dissolve happen. It was just such a bad effect, but it was great.
But it was
great.
awesome.
They always did that thing where the camera stopped moving, so you knew if an effect was coming. Like,
Yeah, right.
oh, it's
Freeze
great.
frame.
It's great. Oh, and in the first few seasons, please, if you decide to watch Buffy, which you should, it's great. And I know we need to wrap up the show, but let's talk about Buffy for another 5 minutes. Listen, somebody else should have claimed this story if they didn't want me to go on and on.
Wild horses couldn't have claimed this story from you, Matt. Come on.
You'll take it from my cold, dead hands.
One of the best terrible effects in the first few seasons of Buffy is that the stunt woman who plays Buffy does not have the same body type as Buffy at all. Like, she is just a completely different human being, and it is so funny because Buffy will be like, I'm gonna fight, and then it cuts, it's like Power Ranger style, cuts away, and it's like a much bigger, stronger person like throwing people around, and then cuts back to Michelle Gellar doing this. It's wonderful. So wonderful. It gets better later, but like, yeah, it's terrible in the first couple seasons. I don't know if I'm convincing people to watch it, but you should. It's great.
Trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro. Up next, Warner Brothers has released the first trailer for Final Destination Bloodlines, the first film in the horror franchise in 14 years. The movie hits theaters on May 16th.
Scotty, I'm a pretty big fan of the Final Destination movies. They started coming out when I was in middle school, and it was like that was the Final Destination 2 was like the movie that we all as 8th graders were like, "Ooh, did you see the trailer for that? You're gonna go see Final Destination?" So, I thought it was a good trailer, and it subverted expectations because the way it opened, I was rolling my eyes because I was like, "Oh no, are they taking Final Destination just in the Saw direction?" Because I don't want that. But they did a really good job of setting up one of the most intricate like death traps I've ever seen the series do. So it's kind of like Mousetrap, like where or a dominoes, where you like set one domino off and watch just a hilarious cycle of events take place that lead to somebody's untimely demise. So as macabre as it is, they're really funny and tongue in cheek as well, and it's kind of the perfect brand of horror comedy for me.
My favorite thing about this is that it's called Bloodlines, because like the whole point of Final Destination is you were supposed to die, and so now the death is after you. Like, that's the whole thing. But this is like, your father was supposed to die. Someone in the past, I don't know. That's very funny to me, right? Come on, Bloodlines. Your distant relative was supposed to die. Now it's after you. Everyone dies. Okay. You guys don't think it's
Gotta
as funny
do
as
what
I
you
think
gotta
it is.
do to keep the franchise going.
All right, well, that's all the stories in the lightning round. Let's thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Let's go around and tell the people about where you can find you online, what else you're doing right now. J. Sky St. Clair.
Over on Animation Deliberations, Zuhair and I reconvened to talk about the first couple of episodes of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, as well as do some catch-up on Creature Commandos, so go check that out. And if you're not watching Severance, you should be watching Severance on Apple Plus TV, and check out our coverage on Always Watching.
Absolutely. And Haley Hobbs.
Yep, we're excited to be back reading comics over on Source Pages. Brian and I, we read some really confusing Hulk comics this week, which that's my bad because I chose them because the internet said they'd be good to read. The internet lied. And then next week we're reading some Captain America Sam Wilson, which I'm looking forward to.
Ooh, nice. And Jay Sisson.
Yeah, I mean, catch me at Commute the Podcast every week, and the aforementioned Always Watching covering Severance, which has been a great time. So come over and do that. It's not too late to get involved watching Severance. Season 1's pretty short, moves pretty fast. You can still get on board.
Absolutely. It's so good. So good. And yeah, if you're not following the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, you should be. It's going to be a really fun year, and it's really kicking off in earnest right now. I mean, really, with the Fantastic Four trailer coverage we did today, and then immediately we're just going into the movie. Then a few weeks later, we've got Daredevil coming out. So it's just going to be a killer year, and just great time. So come hang out over there, and right here on Multiverse News every week. So we'll be back soon.
Avengers Assemble, we are starting our Oscars coverage. First episode's out.
Good.
So
thank you.
Scotty,
yes.
Matt, and Ashley and I over there.
Yes. Avengers Assemble for sure. Oscars coverage. We talked about Substance and Wicked and Amelia Perez. So those are coming. Those are coming in that feed. So check those out. And yeah, we'll be back soon. Make sure to subscribe to all those feeds. StrandedPanda.com's got all the things. And we'll be back soon. Peace.
You stay classy, Multiverse.
Thanks for watching YouTube. We appreciate you so much for hanging out. It means a lot. And if you can, hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell icon, hit the share, show it to your friends. We like making the show. We want to make it for more people. We have a few questions in the chat. Let's see what we got. The Kool-Aid Man wears a shirt and shorts and shoes most of the time, so the argument that the glass is his clothes goes immediately out the window. What say you, Jay Sisson?
He's not allowed to layer. I mean, maybe it's a fashion choice. You know, you don't know.
Wait, I wasn't here last week, so I listened to the episode, and it was hilarious that the Spotify poll vastly voted that the glass is his body, but then the comments were all against that.
Yeah, they were all standing up for
the majority can be wrong.
No, they can't. Not in this
Being
case.
the majority
It's
doesn't make
obviously
them
his
right.
body.
He likes to layer. His name is Paddington M. Kool-Aid, actually. All right, Sherman Smith says, I think if you pour the liquid of the Kool-Aid Man, it's like bloodletting. So he's just saying the liquids is blood.
Right.
There's something more mystical about that. I'll say what I said last week. You're thinking too small.
You're always thinking too small when it comes to this question.
Open your mind.
Bob Zombie 3000 says, would anyone in the DCU be worthy of lifting Mjolnir? I'm going to assume he means DCEU because we've not seen any of the DCU yet. Unless we want to talk about
it just means DC Universe. That could be comics, that could be TV shows.
Sure.
The DC Universe, yeah.
I think Wonder Woman has lifted it in comics. Is that right?
Yeah.
I could be wrong. The people will say
I wouldn't be
I'm
surprised.
wrong.
It's so dependent on the version of that character because, like, sometimes they're all written as, like, amazing, you know, Superman's a Boy Scout sometimes, and sometimes he goes crazy and, you know, becomes a despot dictator or whatever. Like, it's just hard to know, and, like, sometimes he's all these places in between. But I'd probably say Superman, but...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. That's his thing.
That is his thing.
Right. I mean,
So boring.
I tried to look up if there was ever a Kool-Aid Man DC Comics run, and there has not been, but there have been some Marvel one-shot comics of Kool-Aid Man. So there you go.
I'll go read those tonight.
So Source Pages has got a new assignment.
Are you implying that Kool-Aid Man could lift Mjolnir? Is that what you're implying?
Yeah, that is what I'm
like bring
implying.
it full circle.
Yeah, totally implying that.
I actually do believe that. I could see that.
As he lifts it,
Yeah.
he goes, "Oh yeah," and then smashes the wall.
That's actually how he smashes the walls.
I want to give a shout out to Smokey Reigns on YouTube who answered this question on YouTube, and they say Kevin Conroy, which I think is a
that's
wonderful
nice.
answer.
Absolutely.
Gold star.
All right, my friends. Well, that's the show. Thanks for being here.